Multicolor 3D printing is easier than ever, but did you know that it's actually weakening your prints? In this video, I'll show you a way to bomb-proof those transitions between different filaments. So, let's take a look. Here we have a simple part printed in one color. You can see that the entire object shares perimeter wall lines, and as a result, even with fairly low infill, it's particularly hard just to snap this model. If, however, we took this exact same model and then painted half of it in a different color and then sliced again, you can now see that each color features a different set of perimeter walls. Effectively, this is now the same as two separate models which just happen to be touching one another whilst printing, and without a single extrusion running between the two colors, this can add a significant weak point to the model, meaning that this joint is completely reliant on a type of layer bonding, but without that downward pressure pushing them together that you get in the Z-axis layers. Luckily, there are two simple solutions which completely solve this issue. The first is super easy to do and is using a slicer setting called beam interlocking. This setting is available in the Others section in Bamboo Studio or the Multi-Material section in Orca Slicer. By turning this option on, when you slice your model at the point any two filaments meet, it will create an angled pattern with the two filaments running into each other, alternating the angle every few layers. With this selected, you can also change various features of the interlocking beams, such as size, and therefore strength. The boundary avoidance setting can be useful if you want to prevent interlocking bars from being visible through your perimeter walls. This could be especially useful when one of your colors is significantly lighter than the other, which could then affect the apparent colors on either side of the division. So here you can set a distance, and the bars won't be generated any closer than that to the object's surface. This pattern effectively locks the two colors together and prevents them from being pulled apart. That is a super simple solution to making the connection between two different colors, or even two different materials, significantly stronger, and the only real downside for ticking that box is a slight increase in print time and material usage. However, whilst these interlocking bars hugely increase the strength of a joint between different colors or materials, there are two potential issues with this solution. Firstly, this only really affects areas where two different filaments meet on the same layer. So if we rotated this same object to print vertically, leaving the interlocking beam setting turned on, this would have almost no effect on the resulting print. But even when it does work, they're still technically being printed as separate objects with interlocking segments. Think of it sort of like a pair of hands. By default, there is very little keeping them together. With interlocking beams turned on, it's as if they are holding hands. This makes it significantly harder to pull them apart, but the joint is only as strong as the interlocking beams, or in this case, fingers. It still takes a lot less force to separate two hands than it does to pull apart a single arm. This also means that if you had an object of one color, which was separated by a section in another color or material in the middle, even with interlocking beams turned on, that object would only be as strong as its weakest link. So if that middle color or material is less strong material than your base one, the whole object will only be as strong as that. But fear not, there is a simple solution for this too, albeit not quite as quick as just ticking a box. The solution here lies in modifiers. If we right-click on the model, select Add Modifier, and for this example we'll select Cylinder, it creates a shape on our build plate. Modifiers by default aren't printable objects, but they allow you to apply settings and properties to them, and those settings will be applied to any part of your object that the modifier overlaps with. Let's turn this modifier on its side and resize it so it runs through the middle of our object, and extends beyond the painted area of our model at both ends. The modifier cylinder has been added to the objects list on the left, underneath the main object. Let's right-click the modifier in the Objects list, select Change Filament, and then select our base filament, the color the model is set to when it's not painted. Right now, if we slice this, you'll see that the modifier object is ignored. This is due to a frustrating trait where if any painting has been applied to an object, the applied filament of a modifier in the same area of the model will be ignored. For this modifier to be followed, we want this part of the object to be in its base color. So let's hop into the painting tool, and for now we'll just select Erase All Painting. Obviously, removing the painting would render what we are doing here pointless, as the entire thing would just be in one color. But what we can do right now is right click on the object and add another modifier. This time I'll select a cube. I'll position it exactly over the area that I'd originally painted, and this time I'm going to apply a secondary color, orange. If we slice it now, you'll see that the area of the object is painted correctly how we wanted it, but if we run down through the layers, you'll see that our cylinder is still being ignored. This is because the order of the modifiers in the object list affects how they are used. So here we've got our cylinder set to white, and below it the cube set to orange. The modifiers are processed in order, so the lowest object in the list overrides any conflicting modifiers in the list above it. If we now drag the cube above the cylinder and reslice it, you'll see that the cube is still painting the entire section orange, but the cylinder overrides the section running through the middle of it. As a result, the two white ends now share a single set of perimeter walls that run through the middle of the orange, with the secondary color simply wrapped around it. This adds a huge strength boost to this part of the model, as it is effectively now printing the white areas as a single object. Now, that's all well and good, but painting an entire model exclusively using modifier shapes just isn't a practical solution. Luckily, a modifier's color is only ignored when painting has been applied to that specific area of a model. So if we take the same object and just paint something on the end of it away from the modifier shapes, then slice again, you'll see that our painting and both of our modifiers have been used together. I used this method to strengthen the arms of the printable KR1 robot which I released recently, which has black bands on each segment of the limbs. This model features an extensive use of modifier shapes for various reasons and is available to download for you to look at and print right now. It's part of a video that I recently published where I spent the day at a humanoid robotics company talking with the roboticists, engineers and CEO, and of course got to have a bit of a play with the robot itself. I'll pop a link to that video in the description below. I really hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please do pop it a like and a hype. It's always hugely appreciated. And if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss out on my future 3D printing and make tech tutorials and deep dives. If you have an idea for an out-of-the-box way that this method could be used, or a suggestion on how it could be improved, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to support me making more like this in the future, and get early access to my content, some member-exclusive content, and some more goodies, I would love it if you would support me via my Patreon, which I'll link in the description below. Or alternatively, you can hit join below my video to become a channel member. As always, thanks very much everyone, and until next time, happy printing. A huge thank you to my revolutionaries, my Patreons and channel members. Your support keeps me and my channel going. If you'd like to join them, hit the Patreon link or the join button below any of my videos. For now, why not pop on one of my other videos to learn something new or just have some fun. Thanks very much everyone, and until next time, happy printing.